Breaking news out of Ohio. We have a verdict in the case against Toby Madden, the stabbed 55 times murder trial. So our clock is stopped there. An hour and 15 minutes. This jury has been deliberating. Yeah, it didn't take long. And if you missed it earlier, there's a live look inside the courtroom. We're told by our team it's not going to be very long before this verdict is read. All the parties were very close. So once word gets out, which has already happened, presumably, this could be happening at any minute. So if you missed it earlier this morning, he had an outburst in front of the jury and basically was disrupting the courtroom proceedings, asking them to look at a certain exhibit back in and then it was a lot. And one would think that went right to the state's case against him, and that he was volatile, he was unable to control his emotions, and that behavior that they saw today in that courtroom was the same behavior that he exhibited when... And his defense attorney had done a fine job. Don't know if he would have been able to get him a lower count, but his attorney had laid this out in a way that could have convinced a jury that he did not intend to kill his girlfriend, that he was in a heat of passion, that he was just starting to stab her and then didn't stop, that he tried to save her life with CPR. I mean, it was a very well-crafted closing argument. But then in that rebuttal is when that outburst happens. Yeah, and I guess you could take it either way, but I don't think it helps him at all. Let's bring in Eric Faddis. He's watching along with us. Eric, our apologies. If we cut you off, it's because we're getting word that the verdict's about to be read. Your thoughts? Hour, 15 minutes, not a ton of time to go back and deliberate. It likely doesn't look good for the defendant.
Ted, that is a terribly short period of time, especially in a first-degree murder case. And you know, like you said, I can't help but wonder how the jury was interpreting some of these multiple outbursts over the course of the trial and what they thought that meant as to Mr. Madden's demeanor and what he's capable of.
Yeah, that first outburst was, of course, the one that he did outside of the jury's presence, but it doesn't mean that they didn't see it, because before the jury was even brought in for opening statements in this case, he told his daughter in the gallery, "Please forgive me, I'm responsible, I'm sorry." And that moment, the state just wove into the rest of their case. They brought it up in opening statement. They played a clip of it inside of the courtroom. So this jury, no doubt, understands his outbursts and how he's been. Could it go to this heat of passion, or maybe they think he has some kind of diminished capacity because he can't keep it together inside of a courtroom?
You know, Julia, that's what I was wondering, is if defense was going to touch a little more on the mental health piece, especially with how these outbursts have transpired and what the jury has seen. You know, could that even garner some potential sympathy if handled the right way by defense? Possibly, but it wasn't really a road that they hammered on much, and it could have been helpful to do that.
Yeah, and an hour 15, I don't think they all agreed on going down that road. If this was an extensive deliberation, maybe. Let's remind our viewers what happened after the state's rebuttal closed, this outburst from the defendant in front of the jury.
Each stab wound brought her closer to death. She got butchered in the home that she was renovating. And I ask that you hold this defendant responsible for killing her. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that exhibit
jurors, I'm going to ask you to return to the jury.
Exhibit 66 is a stick in there. And I also, if you look at the video of them questioning me down at the police station, if you look at it, they asked me, how did the blood get in the sink? I told them that there was blood on my face after I was doing CPR, and I told them that I went to the sink.
Recess at this time.
Look at state number, exhibit number 66. Ask for it back there and see. There's a stick right there. They won't. There's plenty of things they won't bring to you. Ask for it. Right?
You can give that. Okay, now we're
right.
Okay, so
I hope you're not commenting.
The court is not going to tolerate. Let me get back on from there.
Listen,
all right,
what you're not going to do is I'm not going to
the upstairs room location and take a recess.
To...
Thank you.
This is what you did the last time went on.
Again, now a live look at the seal in the courtroom. Eric, that couldn't have helped his cause. It's not like they scurried back there, oh, let's get out Exhibit 66 and see what this guy's talking about. This was just, it likely was unnerving.
Yeah, Ted, of course. And you look at the look on the defense attorney's face. He just looks exasperated. He's trying to kind of keep this together, make the best presentation he can, as Julia said. And unfortunately, his client kind of continues to stymie those efforts with these volatile outbursts.
All right, this is a live look inside of the courtroom. You see, they haven't gathered yet, so we won't go in at this point because they aren't on the record. We don't have any audio. Let's do this. Let's squeeze in a break because as they are gathering, we should be able to get something live and on the record after this break. You're watching Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Welcome back. Perfect timing. The parties have gathered in Ohio. The verdict is in the Toby Madden case. The jury hasn't been brought in yet. The defendant is not in the courtroom, and a sergeant is about to take the stand here. Something must have happened with the defendant concerning the defendant. Let's watch.
Okay, please be seated. We're back on the record in State versus Madden, CR 22121675. Mr. Burst and Mr. Hahn are present on behalf of the state of Ohio, and Mr. Wilder is present on behalf of Mr. Madden. Mr. Madden is appearing remotely at another location in this building, and he is able to hear these proceedings. Okay, so before I've been advised that the jury has a verdict. However, some concerns were brought to my attention during the recess that I'd like to address at this time, and I'd like to ask Sergeant Owens to please take the witness stand. Okay, Sergeant, would you please state your name?
Sergeant Jason Owens.
And what is your occupation, sir?
I'm a sergeant with the Butler County Sheriff's Office.
And what are your present duties?
I'm the supervisor over court security.
And Sergeant, in your capacity, did you have the opportunity to go to the remote location where Mr. Madden is viewing these proceedings?
Yes, I did.
And at any point while you were present with Mr. Madden, did he make any statements that caused you concern about his return to this courtroom?
Yes, he advised his attorney that if he were not wearing restraints, that his attorney was lucky that he was currently wearing restraints, implying that he would inflict physical harm if he were not.
And did Mr. Madden advise in your presence whether he even wanted to return to this courtroom?
He advised my personnel that he did not wish to return.
All right, very well. Anything on behalf of the state?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Wilder, any questions that you have?
No.
Okay, thank you, Sergeant. You may step down. In light of the sergeant's testimony, I'm going to continue to have Mr. Madden participate in the proceedings outside of this courtroom.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So I understand the jury has reached a verdict, and we are waiting on the state's representative.
You should be here momentarily.
Okay. Well, we'll go off the record for just a moment.
All right, let's bring back in Eric Faddis, criminal defense attorney, who is standing by. Eric, these comments that are being made by this defendant has to be on the record because you don't want on appeal there to be an issue with the defendant saying, I wasn't there for my own verdict.
Yeah, Julia, that's exactly right. Yet another bizarre turn of events in this Madden case. And it was smart, I think, of the judge to have the officer come in and actually give testimony on the record as to what happened. Because later on, if that didn't happen, Mr. Madden could say, hey, I should have been present for this verdict and I wasn't. And that's a ground for appeal. But here, there's a reason he wasn't present, and that's on the record.
All right, jury walking in. You can see the judge standing as the jury files in. We will go in and listen to see what their verdict is. Again, the defendant not in the courtroom, in that adjacent room. Not sure if we'll be able to see him or not during the reading of the verdict, but that is the situation.
He can see what's happening inside of this courtroom. We even saw him mouthing, "That's not what I said."
Right.
Seeming to disagree with something having to do with him not being there in the courtroom.
He has been all over the map, that is for sure.
Okay, ladies, and I understand that you have reached a verdict in this case. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and who is our foreperson? Okay, would you please return the verdict forms to Mr. Halcomb? verdict form number 1. We, the jury, being duly impaneled, find the defendant, Toby Madden, guilty of murder as charged in the indictment. The verdict form is signed in ink by all 12 jurors. Verdict form 2. We, the jury, being duly impaneled, find the defendant, Toby Madden, guilty of murder as charged in the indictment. The verdict form is signed in ink by all 12 jurors. Verdict form 3. We, the jury, being duly impaneled, find the defendant, Toby Madden, guilty of felonious assault as charged in the indictment. The verdict form is signed in ink by all 12 jurors. And finally, verdict form 4. We, the jury, being duly impaneled, find the defendant, Toby Madden, guilty of felonious assault as charged in the indictment. And the verdict form is signed in ink by all 12 jurors. Okay. Does the state of Ohio wish to have the jury polled?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
On behalf of the defendant, do you wish to have the jury polled, Mr. Wilder?
No, thank you.
Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your attention in this matter, and I appreciate your patience with us during some of the breaks that we had to have and the concentration that you had throughout these proceedings. And on behalf of the public, I want to express my sincere appreciation for your services in performing this most important function. The judicial system, as we know it in the United States, is the finest in the world, and it is so very important in preserving the property and liberty and the rights of citizens that you are willing to agree to serve as jurors in this case. By your being here and participating, you are helping to guarantee the continued existence of law and social order in our society. So you have my thanks. And I'd also like to thank the attorneys in this matter for their professionalism. I have had you under an order that you could not speak about this case. Now that you have rendered your verdict, you are permitted, I will release you from that order. You are permitted to speak with anyone that you wish to about this case. You are not required to speak to anyone, but that will be your choice alone. In addition, I gave you restrictions about looking at things and investigating things. All of the orders that I gave you you're now released from those. And again, I appreciate your service very much. So you are discharged with the thanks of the court. I would ask that you return briefly to the jury room. Thank you.
Guilty as charged for Toby Madden, and you see there, that's who everyone's hearts is with right now. The daughter of the victim, the daughter of the defendant. What a complicated position Michaela is in.
And sat through this entire trial, including the medical examiner's testimony. She saw the photos of her mother butchered to death. All right.